Yo, what's going on guys, it's Kryptic TMG. I'm back with a brand new video. This time it's round 3 of the AOR GT3 Elite Championship at Redbull Ring, and yeah, pretty difficult race. The conditions were going to be pretty tough, foggy in qualifying and fog and rain for the race. And yeah, to be honest, the fact that it was foggy and raining was what was actually giving me a chance in the Renault. Previously when I practiced before in just dry conditions, the Renault was well off, so yeah, I was feeling pretty decent for this race. I thought maybe if I could sort of stay out of trouble, then maybe I can compete, hopefully get a podium. And if you haven't been watching the actual live streams on Apex Online Racing on YouTube, I advise you definitely subscribe. You can get to watch the whole broadcast of the race on PS4 and of course on PC if you wanted to. And yeah, so it should be pretty good. Make sure you do subscribe to that channel. I'll leave the link down in the description. But anyway, without any further ado, let's get this race underway. So going into quality, I'm actually on provisional pole at the moment with a 29.7. You can see I'm 4 tenths up, almost going to go 5 tenths up, which would have put us on a 0.2. And I just run a little bit wide at the last corner. I knew I slightly extended, so I kind of gave up the lap. But I'm pretty sure I could have got sort of a low 0.2, maybe a 0.1. But anyway, you can see at this stage in qualifying, I've messed up all my other laps. It's down to this last lap. I'm falling back to 4th position. You can see CJ's on a 0.2. We've got Walter 7.9 in front of us, and also Carl. Carl's in the pits at the moment, so I know he can't improve his time, so it's down to me to really try and nail this lap. But first corner wasn't great. I sort of slid the way in, and I knew I didn't really want to track extend, so I was a little bit too cautious, and I tried to make up for it on the brakes for turn 2, and I just slightly overshot the corner. But I knew sort of the end of the lap was where I was pretty poor on my banker lap before, so I knew I could still gain some time. You can see at the moment our potential's like a 29.0, which I thought was possible if I could just have nailed a lap. But obviously with the first sector being pretty average, I'm gonna have to make up most of my time in the rest of the lap. And this was a section where I knew I really had to sort of get on the throttle early and get my turning points correct. I was hoping I didn't catch any traffic on this lap as well. Hit the apex nicely there, managed to get on the power pretty quickly, and sort of the last 2 corners is so sketchy on this track because you can think you've nailed it and just run a tad bit wide, and sometimes you can't even tell if you're off the track or not. So that was done quite nice. I was a little bit cautious through this corner not to get on the power too soon, and yeah, you can see us sort of losing time. But as we go across the line, I thought I could get pole position. I actually ended up in 3rd place, and it said I got a 29.291, but then it said I got a 29.301, which was pretty weird, but at the same time that's what it was. So starting 3rd then, and really hoping Walter didn't have any lag issues for this race. So the last 2 races, obviously, I'd started behind him, or I'd been behind him when it was just crazy lag. So yeah, hopefully no problems this time for me, and no problems this time for him. But going into the race now, obviously we're going to do the manual formation lap, and you can see the conditions are just taking a turn for the worst. And it was pretty tough to get your tires right, to get your tire temperatures right for the whole race, because the tires just seemed to either heat up too much or stay too cold, and it was just a nightmare. But I worked pretty hard on my car for this race and tried to make sure that I didn't have any problems in that department. But unaware to me, on my screen, Walter was perfectly fine, wasn't lagging. But to CJ and to Carl, to I think Infinity as well, he was lagging all over the screen. You'll see here at the last corner, watch CJ's car as he turns in to the right-hander. It just gets thrown to one side, and yeah, that was him actually getting smashed into by Walter's lag, which he was sure gave him damage. But obviously for me, it just looked like he just had a little bit of a wobble. But yeah, if you watch his stream, he definitely did get hit, and yeah, it was just pretty crazy. But starting the race now, CJ gets a great start. We've managed to keep our position in 3rd, and all of a sudden up the inside, bang! And I thought I was going to spin. Carl was actually on our outside, and it kind of saved us having him there, because we actually ended up hitting him, which kind of stopped us from spinning. But I'm pretty sure that was Fogarty. He came steaming up the inside and hit us from a ridiculous distance behind, and it was sort of what I was worried about before the race, because in these rainy conditions, the race conditions seem to change from session to session. So sometimes you have all the grip in the world, other times you have no grip at all. So I was just hoping that everyone would be a little bit careful into the first corner, but didn't happen. I didn't know, it said I didn't have any damage, but you never do know with this game. Carl tries to go on the outside and actually outbrakes himself. Just testament to how much grip was missing on the first lap of the race. It was really treacherous. So even there, you see us try to take the corner, go down into second, and there's just fully no grip. And there'll be other times, other sessions where I've done practice races, and on the first lap we was absolutely flying on the first lap. So it was pretty crazy. Didn't really know what conditions you were going to get. And you see, I was taking it so cautious on lap 1. You can see the gap that's being built by the Ferraris. Something that tends to happen at races where the track temperature is quite cool. The Ferrari seems to be able to get a lot of temperature into the tyre. So at the start of a race, it's really hard to keep up with them or keep them behind you. So I just tried to stay as consistent as I possibly could, and just see where that would put me. And we'll see now. Just try and keep it within the white lines. Don't push too hard. Don't take any unnecessary risk, because obviously it's a wet race. There's going to be mistakes, and surely I'll get some sort of opportunity to improve later on down in the race. But I thought my pace would be quite strong, to be honest. It wasn't too bad in practice, and as I said, I worked really hard on my tyres to sort of be better in the second half of the race, because I just knew that with the way the Ferraris could heat the tyres up in the first stint, I was never realistically going to be able to keep up. But you see now, Walter's beginning to fall back away from CJ. He's beginning to fall back towards us, and now's our chance to sort of try and close the gap, try and put the pressure on, and see what we can do. Carl was falling back behind Ronaldo, who won the last race at Dubai. So we've got all the sort of championship contenders in the top 5 at the minute. So yeah, it was just try and keep consistent, try not to make any mistakes, which has sort of been my motto this year. Just keep it on the black stuff, and you should eventually get a result, because there's always a mistake. I feel there's always a possibility of gaining position from mistakes. So me just trying to close up to Walter. But the hard thing about this game I found is when you're behind someone, it just seems to just take the downforce off the front of your car. It's just, car just seems to slide. And at this moment I was feeling like I'm quite a bit quicker than this guy, but every time I got close, every time I got like sort of within a second, the car just felt just used to just slide. It will slide from the rear even, which is what I don't understand. I'm coming up to the I should get a lot of understeer, but it just seemed to make the car really oversteery. And you'll see now as I'm coming up, caught Water going into the last sector, and you'll see as I go into the last 2 corners, the car just starts sliding from the rear. I just don't understand it. As we go into the last corner here, turn in, and the back end just starts coming around. It's crazy. Very hard to follow for some reason. But then that's us losing pretty much all the time we gained on Water. We're going to have to try and make that up. But I didn't want him to get into a rhythm, because I knew once he got into a rhythm, the Ferrari is pretty quick, and it's going to be quite hard to close down. I wouldn't say I couldn't close him down, but it's when someone's running at a certain pace, it's very hard to sort of get past them without a mistake. But I was confident in my pace, and I was quite happy to just run in clear air. You can see Carl now, he's got past Ronaldo, who I think must have made a mistake, because he's also fallen behind Infinity. And Carl, you watch the time, Carl was catching us pretty damn quickly. And yeah, he didn't actually do a lot of practice for this race, but he definitely had a lot of pace when he did get on. And I sort of knew if he got anywhere near us that I wouldn't battle it too hard, because I would just be sort of stalling my own progress a little bit. So I thought if Carl catches us at any point, then I'll let him go pretty easy and just try and stick with him and see if that can bring me back towards the front. because at the time CJ said he did have damage, so he may not have been performing as well as he could have. But still, we couldn't really close up to the back of water, not properly anyway, without the car just feeling just totally weird and light, and just an overall just a loss of grip. I mean, it must be how these guys in F1 feel when they're trying to follow each other through corners and they just can't get close enough. But that's the only thing I can sort of describe how it feels to me. But yeah, I still see Carl still bearing down on us. We're beginning to close in on water again. CJ's bolted now. At the beginning, water was kind of keeping up with CJ, keeping him honest, but now as everyone's settling into their rhythm, you can see the pace difference is pretty big. And as water goes into that corner, the back end steps out, he manages to catch it, but it lets us up into second place, which is pretty good for us. And Carl was also right on the back of water as well, but I think for Carl, water was lagging massively, so I was sort of using this as my opportunity maybe to try and get away from Carl, because he was so fast. I could see him catching us like 6-7 tenths per lap, so I try and use sort of water as a buffer, hoping water could keep him behind for quite a long time, and then maybe just create enough of a gap. We pretty much didn't think we'd really be able to catch CJ. We would maximum be able to match the times he was getting, but other than that, it was already quite a big gap at this stage, and I didn't have any extra pace. I felt I was sort of wringing the potential out of the car, to be honest, and driving pretty well, but still it's just not enough. It's just not enough. When you're racing against Ferraris, it's just not enough. So me just trying to stay focused, don't make any mistakes, don't make it a freeway battle for seconds, just keep my head down. You can see I've pulled quite a healthy gap, and with Carl still stuck behind water, it's pretty much really helping us out. But I thought this is a moment where I need to push. Now is where I need to push and just create the gap. But the thing is, with the rain, with the live track 3.0, you never know what the track's going to feel like on the next lap. You never know. It doesn't always feel exactly the same lap after lap. But you can see now Carl's finally managed to get past water, and we were lapping not too bad, 37.6, not too bad, but Carl was just relentlessly closing us down. And then going into turn 1, we have a similar moment to what Water had. We managed to catch it a lot earlier, but we do lose all the momentum going in towards turn 2, and Carl gets alongside us. And as I said before, I wasn't about to fight him, so you'll see as we get to the braking zone, I just ease off the throttle, let him go, and just hopefully now we can try and stick behind him. And I didn't want to get into any battles and anybody else from behind us catch us up, and then I'd have to battle somebody else for a podium position. I just wanted to make it as easy as possible and be able to just focus on my race. I thought I'll try and stick with Carl, but you can see here, look how late he is braking for turn 3, and he's getting the car stopped. That was just not possible in our car at all. It's just not possible. And yeah, after I saw that, I thought we ain't really got much chance of sticking with him, to be honest. He was braking so late for these corners, but still getting the turn and still managing to get it slowed down. It was just like, wow. So pretty much after that, it was just about let's see how big a gap he's going to pull on us. If he sort of carries on the way he's going, then I thought he would definitely catch CJ, and then that's pretty much the only hope I could get to sort of catch him back up, is if they start battling, and that way hopefully it would bring me back into play. But obviously it was a long shot. I didn't know if CJ was just biding his time, or whether he's running his own pace, whether he could just go fast if he wanted to. But I definitely knew Carl was going for it. He was flying in the race, and you can see now he's just built the gap so quickly. And it's crazy because in qualifying, you know, we was pretty close on pace, but then it just comes to the race pace, and then the Ferraris are just gone, and it's pretty much nothing you can do about it. It's very demoralizing sometimes, but I mean, if you just stick it out, stick in there, and don't make mistakes, then I mean, you can pick up a couple lucky positions like I've done in probably the second race, I'd say, a couple lucky positions. But yeah, that's just what it is at the moment, until SMS sort the BOP out properly, or not so much the BOP, just just sort of how the cars feel in a race. I always feel that Ferrari's just untouchable in a race. It's just so fast, and you can see like the way how Carl was able to brake into some of these corners. It's almost as if he's driving in sort of damp conditions and not a fully wet track. But anyway, you can see him really closing down on CJ. So I thought if CJ had any extra pace, he would have been using it by now. But obviously Carl just seemed to be wringing the neck of that car, and I think he also had damage as well, because I think he had a lag crash with water also. So I think Carl also had damage. So for him to be traveling that fast with damage was crazy. But you can see the puddles getting bigger now, so we're having to sort of concentrate more and make sure we don't hit any of them puddles. If you hit a puddle full tire, you're gonna bin it, and there's nothing you can really do about it. But you can see now I'm still sort of between 6 and 6.5 seconds behind CJ, and Carl really closed the gap down. Only 2 seconds behind now. But I thought our pace was decent. Probably apart from Carl, I didn't really feel like I was losing time to anybody else. So it was literally just sort of Carl who was wringing the neck of it, and I thought I was sort of okay with my pace. And to be honest, I would have been pretty happy finished on the podium in 3rd place, because as I said, when we first practiced for this track in the dry, wow, the car was just so far off, and I'm not sure why, because it is high altitude and the Renault does have a turbo, but it just seems to lack so much power. But obviously in the rain, when you lack a bit of power, you can make up with it, because I'm going to get less wheel spin, I'm going to get more drivability and stuff like that. But of course there is still 2 pretty long straights on this track, so yeah, you still do need a degree of power, because you are full throttle for quite a lot of the lap. But you can see now we're just sort of holding our own in 3rd place, and just trying to, I was trying to sort of lap quickly, but every time I would sort of put in a good first sector, I was losing it in the last sector and just stuff like that. And I just didn't want to risk anything. But I was sort of kind of focusing on the battle ahead. And as I said before, if you haven't seen it on the live broadcast, I advise you to go and watch it. Commentated on by Mr. F1 Radio. It's a great stream, great race. And I'll leave the link down in the description. But yeah, for me, I was happy lapping pretty consistently between mid 37s and 38.2. I think I just kept the sort of same sort of times all the time, and I wasn't really losing ground. I was losing ground to Carl, but you can see Carl now is completely caught CJ, only 2 tenths behind at this point. I'm still within that 6 to 6.5 second sort of time scale. I'm still there, haven't really lost anything, haven't really gained anything. But I was hoping now that CJ will have something to defend, and they might be going side by side for a few corners. They possibly could have contact. I was just hoping that it's just going to allow us to just ease up slowly on the back of them. I had to actually change my brake balance, because the back end was starting to sort of come around on me when I was trying to go into corners. But obviously with the AOR rules as well, you're not allowed to have 2 wheels outside the white line. So even though a lot of the time I really wanted to start ringing the car everywhere, I just knew that this is one of them tracks where you can easily run wide, and the penalty system is very lenient around here. So also I was just trying to keep it within the white lines, and as I said, if I had finished 3rd, I would have taken 3rd before the actual race. So I mean, I can't complain. I wasn't really in danger of losing the 3rd position or anything like that. So only place I could really go without a mistake is forwards, and even a 3rd place, another podium for me. 3 podiums in the first 3 races. Definitely I would have taken that before the season started. So I wasn't complaining too much. Pretty lonely at this point, just driving around by myself, and I found that quite a lot in some of these races, that a lot of the time I am just by myself until something ends up happening. But yeah, I've yet to really have like a race long battle with somebody, because it's almost like if the guys in the Ferrari are on it, then I don't stand a chance. Some tracks, the tracks that don't suit my car, I don't really have a chance to beat anyone in the Ferrari. I don't really have a chance to beat Ronaldo in the Lambo, because it's very fast in a straight line and my car's very slow in a straight line. And we've yet to really do a really tight twisty circuit, which I feel is going to benefit my car the most. So it's pretty difficult to find a race sometimes, find someone to race for the majority of a race. So yeah, gets pretty boring sometimes in my races, but that's why you'll see me do what I'm doing now, just skipping laps forward. But if you look at the time difference, you can see we've actually taken a second out of the guys in front. Almost 2 seconds now, and almost 3 seconds now. The gap's really coming down, so you can tell they've been battling really hard, and what I thought would happen is starting to happen. I'm starting to close the gap to the guys in front. We've only got 6 and a half minutes left of this race, and you can see the gaps now to sort of 2.5, 3 seconds, and I was like, wow, just keep pushing, because obviously these guys they're battling hard. You can see it. You can see that Carl's completely closed CJ down, and it's just a question of time or whether he can actually get past. And me personally, I wanted CJ to stay in front at this point, because he was what was sort of bringing me back into play, because Carl was the one that had all the speed, all the pace, and he was the one trying to get past. So I would have preferred CJ to stay in front for the time being, because I thought if Carl gets in front, then he's going to have the pace to just pull away, because of the pace he's already shown in the race so far. But you can see us just surprised. I was literally surprised how much time they actually lost. But it was something that I did anticipate early in the race when I decided not to battle Carl, because at the rate he was catching me, and I could see at the time I wasn't at max. I was only losing 2 tenths per lap to CJ. I knew that if he carries on with that pace, he would definitely catch up, and that was sort of what I was banking on, and seeing if it could bring me back into play. I didn't really have any hope of holding Carl back, but you can see CJ's running a little bit wide. He's really under attack. He's going defensive, and this is just helping us all the time. It's helping us all the time. And when you go defensive into turn 1 like that, I know they're going to get a slower run out of turn 1, so I know I'm going to make up time on turn 1 as well. And yeah, down to sort of 1.82 seconds now. And I thought just a couple more laps of this, but I thought I haven't got enough time. There's only sort of 4.5 minutes left, and this was the time I had to push. But I just, at the same time, I just didn't want to make a mistake, because I knew one mistake and then I'd lose the chance to even catch these guys up. But you can see them really pushing each other hard at the moment, and obviously these guys are teammates, so it's a bit of a Hamilton v Rosberg 2016. And yeah, going down into turn 3, CJ brakes way too late, and Carl's late braking in that corner, I think slightly putting people off how he's managing to get that car stopped. So Carl ends up taking the lead, CJ down into 2nd place. And obviously CJ at the moment is our main championship rival, with Carl retiring from Dubai, even though he was on pole position. Obviously he had that problem with his default setup being set to his car for the race, giving him less fuel than what was required to finish the race. And yeah, so CJ, our main championship rival, just ahead of us. I thought this is not too bad to only be losing a couple of points to CJ, and if I could manage to catch them up, I would definitely try and have a go. But obviously they're very fast. You can see even CJ sliding behind Carl, losing the downforce off of the car in front, and it really is so hard to follow, pretty hard to follow. It was quite interesting that Carl was able to keep that close for how long he was close for, because that was probably a good 20 minutes where he was just right underneath CJ's rear wing. But you can see us now gap down to like 1.2 seconds, and I'm right there, trying to close in a little bit more so I can get the slipstream. I'm out of the slipstream at the moment, but CJ's gonna have a go down the inside line. Carl brakes late, and yeah, he's able to get it stopped again. But all this is just bringing us into play. Just over a second behind, but still pretty close. And to think at some point in this race it was like 6 or 7 seconds behind CJ. Now we've caught back up just in a few laps, to be honest, just because of how hard they're battling. And I can tell you in practice it was I wasn't expecting to beat anybody in a Ferrari, none of these two guys anyway, because the pace continuously was just too fast, and for me, I could lap very consistently, but consistently slower than what they were able to do. But you can see CJ now, for some reason, seems to just picked up his pace, and all of a sudden now he's sticking with Carl after Carl's passed him. Just that sort of drive not to lose the race, because obviously Carl's come from pretty far back. He was quite a way back at a point in this race, and he managed to just pick his pace up and really close down and hunt everybody down. And there's me just trying to stick with it, just hoping for some sort of fireworks, hoping that maybe they could have a collision and I could slip through and take the dub. But yeah, right now I'm just watching the battle. I'm not going to take any risk. I'm not going to sort of dive bomb it up the inside and risk taking people out in a race like this, because this is a proper epic battle, especially up front, and it's just allowed me to close the gap and get as close as I can. And if I can put a little bit of pressure on, definitely I will. But you can see how close we are now. Absolutely crazy how much time you lose battling. And this is why when someone's in the lead and I'm in second or third place and I feel like I have decent pace, I'm not going to battle. Even if I have to let somebody go, as long as I know that they've got the pace to stick with the guys at front, then I'm not gonna battle. I'm just gonna leave it so we can catch the guy in front, because if you do start battling, you're gonna give someone a very easy victory. But you can see CJ almost hits Carl there going into turn 3, and this will be the penultimate lap. We've got one more lap after this, and CJ gets in the puddle, gets into the gravel, goes wide, and I almost go off following him, watching him in the gravel, and that's promoted us up into second place now. And looking at the gap's way too big for CJ to close us back down now. So I was thinking, wow, like another second position, and maybe even a first position if I can close Carl down, or if he makes any mistakes, or has his tyres gone, because I worked so hard on my tyre pressures, and you can see I've in an hour long race I haven't really got that much tyre wear at all, to be honest. So I thought, let's see how fast Carl is now, because he got past CJ and he just seemed to the pace seemed to just stop. So I thought I'll try and push, I'll try and see whereabouts I can get him, can I put him under any pressure. But I think, to be honest, on the last lap he was just making sure he didn't make any mistakes himself. Me, I was really pushing it into these corners, just trying to do anything to sort of put him off, but he seemed to have everything under control. We were actually up on our fastest lap at this point, so you can tell we're still traveling at quite a decent speed. This was the corner where I just couldn't get my head around how late he could brake for that corner. We tried to brake late and we just go straight. And yeah, at this point I thought, yeah, it's just not going to happen. I'll be pretty happy with the second place, to be honest. And also remember, I didn't want to make any mistakes, because we're going to let CJ back through, and obviously with him being the championship leader and me being in second position in the championship, I'm about to beat him for the second race in a row, so I don't need to be throwing that away. So I'll be happy to keep the second position, and to be honest, it's a lot better than I expected before the race. A lot better than what I expected before the race. So yeah, crazy race. And as I said before, if you can, go and watch the live stream of this race. It was crazy. It was an absolute crazy commentary as well. Immense battle at the front, but coming through to get our second place this season, 3 second places in a row, and yeah, I was chuffed to bits. And yeah, it gets me closer in the championship, and I feel like the underdog right now. I feel like Red Bull versus a Mercedes, and Red Bull just somehow managing to get the job done. And obviously it's not going to be like that for the whole season, because there's going to be tracks where I just can't do nothing. Hopefully there's going to be a tracks where I can do something, but this is the current championship standards at the moment. You can see CJ on 91 points, me on 90 points, CJ with them pole positions, 2 pole positions this season, giving him an extra 2 points. Otherwise we'd actually be leading by a single point. But yeah, that was the championship standings, and yeah, for me, pretty happy. Couldn't really ask for more. Obviously CJ and Carl could have taken each other out and I could have won the race, but I mean, just for the sake of the race, sake of the battle, it was a great battle out front, and managing to somehow get a second place, I was pretty happy with that. And yeah, on to the next race, which is Silverstone. I'm not too sure how that's going to suit my car. It is a lot of fast corners, but it is a lot of full throttle at the same time. So yeah, pretty pretty difficult to judge whether I'm going to be faster or whether I'm going to be lagging a little bit behind. But hopefully the Renault is good there. Hopefully it's got good pace, and that corner speed can sort of help us out. But those are the race results, and you can see only finishing 1.4 seconds behind Carl. Pretty damn happy. Third fastest lap of the race, I'll take that. And yeah, as I said, on to next week. But anyway, it's Kryptic TMG. Like and subscribe, hit the notification bell to catch my videos first, and peace.